Did you ever wonder why so many young dogs develop fear, reactivity, or poor social skills even though their owners were trying to do everything right? One of the most common and damaging myths in animal behavior is that puppies should not attend puppy classes until they are fully vaccinated. In this video, I'll explain why that advice is outdated, why keeping puppies isolated is a mistake, including at the breeder, and how to think properly about safe early socialization without turning it into a vaccine debate. My name is Sagi Denenberg, and I'm a veterinary psychiatrist helping dogs, cats, and their owners. Let's be clear from the start. This is not about ignoring the risk of infectious diseases. That risk is real, but behavior risk is also real. And for many puppies, the cost of isolation during early development can be lifelong. There is a limited early period in a puppy's life when the brain is especially open to learning what is safe, normal, and familiar during that stage. Puppies should be gently and positively exposed to the world. That includes people, sounds, surfaces, handling, novelty, and other appropriate puppies. If we miss that window, we do not simply press the pause button and pick up later. We often lose ground on what is difficult and sometimes impossible to recover fully. That is why the old recommendation to keep puppies isolated until they are fully vaccinated is such a problem. It sounds cautious, it sounds responsible, but in practice, it often means the puppy spends critical weeks underexposed, underprepared, and behaviorally vulnerable. And I also want to stress something many people overlook. The mistake often starts before the puppy even comes to the home. If breeders keep litters too isolated with little safe exposure to normal life, that puppy may already be behind before the new owner even had a chance to help. So this is not just about what happens after adoption. Early development starts early. I prefer to frame it properly as risk management issue, not a choice between disease prevention or behavior, not one or the other. Good medicine starts by balancing both. The question is not, should a puppy be exposed to anything or everything? That's the wrong question. The right question is, how do we provide safe, controlled, developmentally appropriate exposure during the socialization period? That is where good puppy classes can be extremely valuable. A properly run puppy class is not a chaotic room full of random dogs. It is a structured environment. Puppies are usually screened by age and vaccine status and parasite control. The floor and setting should be clean and disinfected. The interaction should be supervised. The goal is not to throw puppies together and hope for the best. The goal is controlled learning. That learning matters. A puppy who never sees unfamiliar people early in life may grow into an adolescent dog who barks, avoids, or panics around visitors. A puppy who is kept at home for safety and never learns how to cope with novelty may later look stubborn, difficult, or even aggressive when the fact is the dog is scared and underprepared. A puppy who misses healthy exposure to other puppies may fail to develop appropriate social communication and frustration tolerance later. That same dog may overreact on walks, play too roughly, or becomes fearful around dogs. These are not minor inconveniences. These are cases that later show up as reactivity, fear-based aggression, handling sensitivity, separation-related distress, and even chronic anxiety. And then owners often say, "We were so careful, we did everything right." That is exactly the problem. They followed an outdated advice. This is why I say the recommendation itself is outdated. It comes from an old, overly simplistic way of thinking. It treated infectious diseases as if they were the only risk worth discussing. But behavioral development is part of health. Behavior is not optional. It is not secondary. It is a part of the animal's well-being. Of course, not every puppy class is good. A badly run class can harm. A frightened puppy forced into overwhelming interaction is not being socialized properly. Flooding is not socialization. Stress is not learning. Quality matters. The same is true outside of the class. Socialization does not mean taking a young puppy everywhere, exposing them to everything, and hoping they get used to it. It means carefully planned, positive experiences at the puppy's pace. It may include seeing people of different ages and appearances, hearing household noise, traffic, or clinic sounds at a manageable level, walking on different surfaces, learning to be handled gently, watching the world from a safe distance, meeting calm, healthy, appropriate, playfully positive dogs, and yes, attending a good puppy class before full vaccine when the risk is managed properly. What should not happen is total isolation. Keeping a puppy indoors for weeks, away from the world, away from people, away from normal life, and then expecting confident, adaptable dog later in life is unrealistic. You cannot create social competence through deprivation. And let me address a common misunderstanding. Some people hear this and think the message is vaccines do not matter. That is not the message. Vaccine matters. Disease prevention matters, but so does behavioral prevention. The medically responsible approach is not isolation. It is controlled exposure with veterinary guidance. That is the standard owners should expect. So if you have a young puppy or if you're planning on getting one, do not accept the blanket advice that says keep the puppy away from everything until vaccines are fully done. Ask better questions. What can this puppy safely experience right now? What can we do to protect both physical health and behavioral health? Is the breeder providing early exposure? Is the class well run, clean, age appropriate, and supervised? Is my veterinarian helping me properly balance these risks? Because that is what good care looks like. The goal is not just to keep the puppy alive. The goal is to help that puppy become behaviorally healthy, resilient, and able to function in the human world. And if we fail to do that during the early window, we may create problems that last far longer than the vaccine period ever did. Here is the bottom line. This myth needs to go. The idea that puppies should stay isolated until they are fully vaccinated is outdated. Keeping them isolated, including at the breeder, is a mistake. Safe, early exposure is not optional. It is part of proper preventive care. Talk to your veterinarian for more information. Ask for a clear socialization plan. Consider this as a behavioral vaccine. And subscribe for more videos on veterinary behavior where we separate the myths from medicine.